Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 The reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 5th canto, chapter 8, the character of Gaurvani, text 21. Translation before by the language cakita-cakita. This is prose. We can still try to in parts repeat it. Why is that? Why? We will repeat word. You can repeat as I chant. That's what I'm saying. It's prose. Still we can do parts. And you just repeat, that's all. kṣvelikāyāṁ mṛṣā,
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ,
samādhinā-mīlita-dṛśaṁ,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa luṭhati,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa.
kṣvelikāyāṁ mṛṣā,
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam mṛṣā,
samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ,
samādhinā-mīlita-dṛśaṁ,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa luṭhati,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa luṭhati.
kṣvelikāyāṁ mṛṣā,
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam mṛṣā,
samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ,
samādhinā-mīlita-dṛśaṁ,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
prema-saṁrambheṇa, cakita-cakita,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa luṭhati,
āgatya pṛṣad-aparuṣa-viṣāṇāgreṇa luṭhati.
kṣvelikāyāṁ,
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam
while playing,
ma
unto me,
mṛṣā,
feigning,
samādhinā,
by a meditational trance,
trance,
āmīlita-dṛśam,
āmīlita-dṛśam,
with closed eyes, prema-saṁrambheṇa, because of anger due to love, cakita-cakita, with fear, āgatya,
coming,
pṛṣad, like drops of water, aparuṣa, very soft,
very soft,
viṣāṇa,
viṣāṇa
of the horns,
agreṇa
by the point,
luṭhati
touches my body. So this is Bharat Maharaj speaking, and the background is that he rescued the deer which had fallen into the water, and he had taken it to his ashram, and he is developing more and more affection for the deer. So that's quite elevated. Today, affection is developed for cats and dogs, and spiders, snakes. People have all kinds of pets. So deers are, much nicer. So he developed more and more affection, and he began to treat the deer practically as his own son. He called it a prince. And now he says, alas, the small deer, while playing with me and seeing me feigning meditation with closed eyes, would circumambulate me due to anger arising from love, and it would fearfully touch me with the points of its soft horns, which felt like drops of water. Prabhupada sometimes comments, he says if somebody is in love, he can say so many crazy things. Purport. Now King Bharata considers his meditation false. While engaged in meditation, he was actually thinking of his deer, and he would feel great pleasure when the animal pricked him with the points of its horns. Feigning meditation, the king would actually think of the animal, and this was but a sign of his downfall. So generally, people have no idea how dangerous it is to develop attachment for something in this material world. Generally, it's another living entity. Generally, it's a human being. Generally, we all want relationships, loving relationships. Therefore, family life is very prominent in human society. At least it used to be. Even that nowadays it's apparently changing. Attachments have become distorted. The classic relationship, husband, wife, and children, is being practically disappeared in many places. But still, the tendency and the desire to have a relationship is natural, because we are related to Krishna. And there's Krishna's family, Prabhupada said. We should join Krishna's family, the Krishna Gotra. There's Krishna Gotra in the spiritual world. So Krishna has his relationships with his mother and father, Yashoda and Maharaj, with his friends, with his servants, his lovers, and with animals also. His pet is the cow, not the deer. There's also deer in the Bhagavatam, you know that, the black deer. When they hear Krishna's flute is described, they become stunned. And Krishna also embraces the animals, he calls them by his names. So it's kind of natural to have these relationships. But when this happens in the material world, it becomes the cause of bondage. explains, we will read this purport from Bhagavad-gita, where he mentions mṛṣā-samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ, the verse which explains how we change material bodies. It's a process, and we all know this, we have studied philosophy. It's the subtle body that carries the soul from one situation to the other. And according to the mentality we have developed, we enter into the womb of a particular mother, whether it's a human mother or an animal mother, and then we develop a new body according to that mentality. So in that verse from the 8th chapter, verse number 6, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says in the purport, the process of changing one's nature, the critical moment of death, is here explained. A person who at the end of his life quits his body thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord, but it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is a point we should note very carefully. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Well, it will come. I mean, those who are sitting right in front of me, most of you are a lot younger than me. Looks like it. So there's a few over there, probably older. And you may think, or we sometimes say, oh, you have your life in front of you. How old are you? 25. It's like half a century ago. So you may think, or your parents may think, oh, you have your whole life in front of you. Don't become a Krishna, don't be stupid. Become an IT expert and become rich. Have a beautiful family and a dozen children. Well, nowadays you don't have a dozen children. But that's what we think. But it's not necessarily true. You may be older than me. You may die tomorrow. But may happen. But may happen today. And maybe I still have a few years to go. So this is all relative. We don't know when this critical point will come, as Prabhupada says. It's a critical point. Because what is the future? Where do we go? Now we think, oh, I have this situation and it's very nice and this and that, but the next step, what will it be? Again, human being? Maybe. An animal, maybe a plant, maybe something else. So, how can one die in the proper state of mind? Because if the state of mind is not proper, then the future is could be very dark. It's unknown. And probably it's dark. Whatever is below human existence, it's dark. And even within human existence, who knows where we end up if we take birth again as a human being? Maybe in India, maybe not. And where, we don't know. Maybe in China, but not in Wuhan, dangerous place. You may think America, well, you may be thinking like that, but American dream has become an American nightmare. So that's also not a good option. Maybe Germany, I don't recommend. I've been there and I left it behind and I'm not going back. I'm going back for just speaking about Krishna. Anyway, so there's no place in this material world. It's all places of misery, so it's not a good idea to come back here. So therefore, yes, Krishna recommends you should die in the proper state of mind. And what is that? You think of it. As he said, says in the previous verse, we can go back to verse number 5, it's an important verse also. Antakale chamandela, antakale, at the end of time that we have in this body, smaran mukta kaleva, then if one remembers by giving up the body, me, then yakprayati samādhinā, you come to my nature. And yati nastyata, samshaya, there is no doubt about it. So that's the recommendation. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me, he will attain my nature. And if we don't remember Krishna, then yang Krishna power, kaleva, there you will go, whatever you remember. And therefore he continues in this purport to say, Bharat Maharaj, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, so in this next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activities, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this life creates one's future life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and all the things of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. So, that's it. That's all we have to do. That's the whole process of Krishna consciousness. For that, therefore, Prabhupada called his society the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The idea is to change one's consciousness to think of Krishna. So that at the end of life, at this critical point, you'll be successful. Because the body has to be changed. It's no doubt about that. And the way we think, or whatever is the state of mind at that point, this critical point, that will determine the future. So therefore, it's not that it doesn't matter. It matters a lot. So therefore, and Prabhupada, when he talks about this pastime, he says, this is very instructive. Because here we can learn, first of all, what not to do. To develop this kind of attachment is not at all recommended. But it may happen. And it's very instructive because, yes, Bharat Maharaj was not an ordinary person at all. He was very much advanced in devotional service, in meditation. He had come to the stage of Bhava. The description is there in the previous chapter, how much he had advanced. And it's surprising that we can think, how is it possible that still he became attached to the deer? So that's why it's so important. Even though one may be very advanced, if one is not careful, this may happen. Just by association, Sangat Sanjayate Kama, depending on the kind of association one may have, different desires develop. If we have good association, Vaishnava association, naturally, in one sense, naturally, a desire develops to serve Krishna and think of Krishna and for essential activities. But if the association is mundane and material, then even though one may try to maintain this spiritual consciousness, it will be very difficult because association influences a lot. So, let me see, I wanted to find this verse where it says that his mind was like a clear lake. Do you remember that? It's the description of Bhagavata. mind was like a clear lake. So that means he had become purified. Who can say? I wouldn't say my mind is like a clear lake. My mind is like a clear lake. What is it like? Like a turbulent river? That's more what it's like. So anyway, his mind had become like a clear lake. Still, by this situation that he rescued the deer and he had it nearby, his mind changed. From the clear lake, now it becomes muddy. There's all kinds of emotions rising within his heart. Because mind is not just thinking. We know mind, or heart means, and subtle body means thinking, feeling, and willing. And feeling is a very powerful part of one's being, the way we feel. It may even overpower many, many times the way we think. Clear thinking may be completely disturbed by feelings. So therefore, in this case, his feelings for the deer clouded completely his thinking, clear thinking. He became illusioned, completely illusioned. As I said in the previous verse, he feels the deer is exactly like a prince. I mean, how has your consciousness to be to see a deer as a prince? But that's due to feelings. Robert gives the example of a person who is very much attached to a child that may be even blind, will call the son Padma-lochana, lotus eye, but the child is blind. So as I said, and Robert said that, if one is in this so-called love, you can say any crazy thing. So that's happening here to Bharath. He sees the deer as a prince, he embraces it, he sleeps with it, he feeds it, and he's always thinking of it. And now in this verse, it is describing that even his meditation, which had been focused on Krishna, now it's like a kind of feigning, pretending. He pretends to meditate, but he doesn't really meditate. He's thinking of the deer. It's deer meditation. It's not Krishna meditation. So deer meditation is not good. Dog meditation is worse. I mean, to become a deer is practically in the mode of goodness compared to becoming a dog. Right? In one sense. Anyway, so yes, we should learn from this incidents of this this story of the King Bharat, how one has to be very careful. Like here, it's one of the next purport, what it says, when a person becomes overly involved in loving affairs, like King Bharat is in love with the deer, he forgets himself as well as others, and he forgets how to act and how to speak. Now you become a little crazy. A fool in love. This is a typical concept. Here it says that. I haven't seen this. It is said that once when a man's son was blind since birth, the father, out of staunch affection for the child, named him Padma-lochana, lotus eye. This is the situation arising from blind love. Bharat Maharaj gradually fell into this condition due to his material love for the deer. So, that is one of the main, or maybe the main problem we face in life, where to put our affections. Because affections, we cannot avoid them, and we shouldn't avoid them. Who wants to avoid affection? It's the essence of life. Love. Prema-saṁrambheṇa. It's the highest goal in life, to develop perfection of Krishna. But if it's not for Krishna, it has to go somewhere. And it may go to a deer, or to a dog, or generally to another human being. But wherever it may be, it doesn't matter where it goes. If it's not Krishna, then it becomes a binding force. And it will condition us. Then we have to come back, take another birth, and continue to live with this kind of feelings. So we have to change it. That's the only thing that is necessary. There's another verse in Bhagavata, just remember, I think it's the 7th chapter, because Prabhupada speaks about this, the attachment. Sometimes we think or we hear that we have to become detached, right? Detachment is vairagya. Raga is attachment, so vairagya, no attachment. You have to become free from attachment. Detached, what does it mean? No more attachment? No, how can it be? Attachment has to be there. So therefore, in that context, Prabhupada quotes verse number 1 from the 7th chapter. Maya asakta manaparta. Asakti is one of the stages in devotional service. Nishta, ruchi, asakti. It means attachment. Then the taste for Krishna consciousness intensifies. So this asakta, Krishna says, my asakta manaparta. You develop attachment for me, and that is the solution. He says, now hear, O son of Pita, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full from doubt. So that has to be done. How to transform or transfer the attachment that we naturally have in the heart from anything not Krishna to Krishna. Now there are so many attachments, generally for family, or for a deer or a cat or a dog. And this attachment should be transferred, should be transformed. So it's focused on Krishna. And then again, as we already explained, that at the end of life, it's quite possible, it should come to that we naturally think of Krishna, and then Krishna says, you come to me. And otherwise, wherever you think, whatever you think, there you go. And if it's a deer, you become a deer, and if it's a dog, you become a dog, like that. So that is the science, how it works, the technical, let's say the procedure, how one changes bodies and how the state of mind and the attachments will influence our future. Any questions of this? It's a very simple understanding actually. One just has to do it because attachments, you can say it goes beyond rational thinking, which is of course many times a problem. Because we may know something is not good, still we'll do it because of attachment, of the feeling. Right? Many times people say, yeah, I know, but I can't help it. You cannot overcome the attachment. Either to eat something, which is a very simple example. And many times you know, I shouldn't eat this. You are diabetic, whatever, you may have some disease. You know, I shouldn't even look at it. Still, I cannot resist. So, and then you can apply it to so many other situations. We know, I know it's not good, but I'm attached. Because there's a taste. The ruchi has intensified to asakti. There's attachment, and you cannot avoid it. So therefore, by practicing, here Krishna says, by practicing this yoga and full consciousness, then the mind can become attached to me, and that is the only solution, because it has to be attached to something. If it's not attached to Krishna, it will be attached to a deer or a dog or your husband or wife or child or brother or sister or whatever it may be. Yeah. So that's how it works. Anyway, questions or comments? It's very quick.
Myself?
Yeah, no, I don't know. He raised his hand.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. The point is that Bharat Maharaj is confused
Yes.
In his duty. He is doing all these things out of his duty. He has sense of duty that if somebody comes or in my center, then I have to maintain him, I have to protect him because he is a king, he is a Kshatriya. So this is the duty of Kshatriya or king. But now he is in Vanaprastha-ashram or Sannyasa-ashram. So this duty does not belong to Vanaprastha-ashram or Sannyasa-ashram.
What duty do you protect?
That, yeah.
Why not?
Because in Sannyasa-ashram, they are not protecting or they are not maintaining themselves. In sannyasi, as a sannyasi, when he goes to forest, he has to leave his body. So he does not care for his whole body. So he does not have this duty to maintain or to protect other creatures. So he is confused in this duty.
Okay. Well, let's first of all get this clear. I know what you mean. You know, Kshatriya means somebody who protects. Like a king is here, we have a king Bharata. So yes, in society, those who have a leading role, they have their subordinates or dependents, and they're supposed to protect them. Nevertheless, protection in general is a duty of everybody. If we see somebody in need, it's not that the sannyasi is so detached, that's false detachment. You see somebody suffering, but that's not my duty. Call the king. By the time the king arrives, the person has died. So if there's a need, you protect. Even like in this case, if you see an animal, you could see an animal like this here, floating in the water, drowning. Now if you, I think, well, I'm a sannyasi, it's not my duty. So you just look at it, nice drowning. No. If you can, you should try to save that living entity from drowning. Whether you're a sannyasi or a kshatriya or a household or a brahmachari, doesn't matter who you are. So, but that's what I just wanted to clear out. But still, it's true. Maharaj, you could say by nature, because he was a king, he may have felt this obligation to save the deer even more than maybe, let's say, a sannyasi living in the forest and seeing a deer almost drowning. He may not. Well, then he's not a very advanced sannyasi. Because, indifferent like that. Anyway, but still, and then of course, that's the first part of this whole story. Just to save the deer is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That we should understand. The act of saving the deer is not only not wrong, it's right, it's a good thing. He saved that little animal from death. But he should have left it like that. Maybe even because it was practically came out of the womb. So it couldn't, in the very beginning, like a small baby, they can't just survive on their own. So maybe in the very beginning, let's say a few days or weeks, he should have taken care of it, giving it, feeding it, until it is grown up sufficiently to now live on its own. That would have been okay. But he went beyond this point. Although the deer was already capable of going on its own into the forest, he wanted to keep it. That's the difference, and that's the mistake. Right? Because sometimes naturally the deer would go. And if he would have encountered encountered some other deer, he would probably go with them and not come back to this, king there. So, but as it is said here, Bhardamar sometimes could not see the deer. It had gone. And his mind became agitated. Instead of saying, oh, wonderful, now he's grown up, you go on your own, I don't have to worry about it anymore. It was just the opposite. He became agitated because his affection had already gone to the deer. His heart had become transformed. So, when the deer was gone, he would be filled with anxiety. And he would lament due to separation. That's the problem. You should not feel separation from the deer, not even from other human beings. Although, yes, in family life that's very difficult. But therefore, there's a whole process. You may have a family for so many years, but at one point, this kind of attachment should be given up. Children are grown up, let them go. Don't, continue to worry and think about them all the time until you die. Then that's not really recommendable. So anyway, that's what happened to the Bhardamar Maharaj. He went beyond just protecting and saving the deer. So therefore, he was in trouble. Okay. Any other?
Krishna Maharaj, he was thinking of the deers in his meditation. So it was when the meditation was at a false meditation. So similarly, if we chant Hare Krishna Bhagavata and we are not thinking of Krishna directly, we will be thinking of our services at that time or anything other, but not thinking of Krishna directly. So is that meditation or chanting is the right word?
Well, services, of course. Anyway, but we shouldn't think of anything else. I mean, when Prabhupada was asked what we should think of, he replied, just hear the sound. Don't even, the devotee was asking whether he should think of Krishna's pastimes, for example, which sounds like a good idea. And God said, no, you just focus on hearing the sound. Don't artificially try to think of something, even in relationship with Krishna. I mean, this will come, but you don't have to do something like that artificially. So, yes, the idea is if we chant, we should just chant and hear the sound of Krishna's name, that's all. Other things may enter the mind, but as you said, yes, then it's kind of false in one sense. Here it says, you could say like that, so that if we notice it, if we become conscious of it, then we should try to pull the mind back and put it back on Krishna's name. That's all. It's practice. It may not be possible all the time, but it goes away again, thinks of other things. As soon as you notice, pull it back. So, what else can you do? But it should be focused on just hearing the sound of Krishna's name. That's the basic idea.
Maharaj, what should be the main force pushing us, misery and trouble of this material world, or desire to attain Krishna's association?
Where is this coming from? You. It's readable because from sound it's very difficult to understand. What should be the main force pushing us, misery and trouble of this material world, or desire to attain Krishna's association? I have a hard time to understand the question. Can you reformulate it for me in a simple way? Does it have anything to do with the class? But Krishna says, Dukhala.
So most of the time, even in our preaching, we use this word to inspire them to practice Krishna consciousness. But now we are practicing for a long time. I have it is 5 years since I have joined as a brahmachari. So now, what should be my consciousness?
What do you mean?
Now, like I know that it is miserable.
Okay.
And at the same time,
But you forget sometimes. That's the problem. I still forget. And it's 50 years, so you know. You don't think after 5 years you're already, it's done. Yeah, I know it's miserable, but you can't forget. That's Maya's business. She covers us. So we have to remember. We have to, if we read Bhagavad-gita and Bhagavatam and hear preaching, then it's hard to forget because he mentioned it so many times, again and again and again. He knows we forget. So one has to be very much convinced, conscious, constantly conscious. Don't forget. Therefore Krishna says, Janma mrityu janavayani dukkha dosha anudara shana. Always have it in front of you. Always see it. Don't forget it. There's each more miserable. That's the basic problem, and we have to solve the problem. How do you solve it? By not taking birth again. That's it. No more janma. If you have no more janma, automatically no more mrityu, no more vyadi, no more jara. Problem solved.
we have to see it as a problem. Like if we desire information, that is also recommended in the scriptures. It is mukti, like I understand. Like if we have only desire to get liberation.
No, who says that? That's what you are saying. Yeah, try to clarify.
Yes, I am
What is the point?
दबा करके
What do you ask?
अच्छे से दबा दो.
Yes, I'm asking that if, like Krishna also said, mṛṣā-samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ, you see and solve this problem again and again, taking one and again. So that if we have desire to get rid of this one, it is the desire of mukti.
Well, if it's real mukti, no problem. Mukti hitman rupa swarupena nirasati. That's the real meaning of mukti, that you become situated in your constitutional position. So that's good. We don't talk about the other type of impersonal mukti. So
Let's solve this problem and then
that's
engage in self-solution.
yeah. Yes.
Maharaj, my question was
about the solution you gave, which was discussed. Solution to attachment is to practice Krishna conscious. Anything other than Krishna, in this, anything other than attachment to Krishna is cause of bondage.
Yes.
And so, like one example which was given was like I have got some diseases and I don't know what, I know this should not be eaten. It is not good for me, but still my mind will give so many justifications. Okay, it is prasad. So, and there are many other things where mind will give reasons. This service is good, but I am attached to it. So, how can we? The solution was to practice.
Practice.
So, how can someone who is attached practice?
No.
Practice.
If you think, when Krishna explains the yoga system to Arjuna in the 6th chapter, remember that? And when Arjuna says, Chanchala, Krishna, forget it, it's too difficult, the mind is always disturbed. Krishna, what does he reply? Well, first of all, he says, you're right. It's correct. I mean, that's how it is. So how to solve it? By practice and detachment. Abhyasa and yuktena. These are the two only methods. So then what does practice mean? So it explains. Hearing, primary hearing about Krishna. If we hear sufficiently, then the mind becomes, actually becomes changed. It should become purified. saying, without hearing, become sentimental. We have to hear real knowledge and become convinced. Then it becomes possible. Every day, Nityam Bhagavata Seva, not just once a week, or once in a while. It should be as much as possible. And then it's possible.
In practice, we can practice the limbs of devotion with detachment because we are attached to Bhagavata.
Well, attachment, as I said, Krishna says, attachment we cannot avoid. Actually, attachment is very good. Mṛṣā-samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ. If it's attached to Krishna, then the greater the attachment, the better. Attachment in itself is nothing bad. But if we attach to anything material, then it's our downfall. Like Purāṇa very clearly says in those purports, it's the downfall. And it shows how he falls into the material world. From his superior, practically spiritual position, he falls down. He can't fall down. So that has to be avoided because the possibility of danger falls. So therefore this association is so important. If we hear the wrong thing and we associate with the wrong kind of persons, then you fall. Or even with a deer. I mean, it doesn't have to be even a person, as you can see. You become attached to a deer, then you also fall.
Can something related to Krishna, like my personal, I am speaking of, can the Mridanga become the deer or something?
You become attached to the Mridanga. You're going to embrace the Mridanga. I mean, that's okay, it's good. Right? It's better than embracing something else. But you should embrace the Mridanga. I mean, we have to embrace something. If we feel I want to embrace something, embrace the Mridanga. Don't embrace a dog or a deer or some lady walking. I mean, it happens. We laugh. It happens all the time. So, yeah, that's again the same point. Attachment to love, to embrace, and all these things are natural. So, it has to be transferred. That's all. If you feel it's the Mridanga, okay, let it be the Mridanga. I mean, anything in relationship with Krishna is okay also. Because we cannot pretend, I want to embrace Krishna directly. That's not a good idea. We should embrace the lotus feet of the devotees in our spiritual master. That's a good idea. But that means embracing instructions. It's not necessarily physical. But anyway, you get the point.
Thank you very much.
It was very nice to learn about many different points. I wanted to ask about attachment only. Like also Kapil Dev says that attachment to a sadhu is very important. And also we discussed in the purports in previous classes that if we are attached to spiritual things, it opens the gate for liberation. So like you and many other Prabhupada disciples are so much attached to Prabhupada. So how do we, like we are not, so please tell us something like how to develop attachment to Prabhupada.
Hearing, I already said it. You hear, and you become attached. And you read, and you should become attached to hearing the philosophy. Appreciate how your Father explains it so expertly, and it changes our life. So it's not so difficult. You just have to do it. There's no difference, because the message is for everybody the same. Everybody can become attached. Not just those who have the direct experience. Like, Prabhupada even says the same thing about Arjuna and Krishna. He says sometimes we may think, oh, Arjuna was so fortunate, Krishna was speaking to him directly and this and this and this. But there's no difference. We have Bhagavad Gita, we have Krishna's words, we can hear Krishna speak. It's as good as when Arjuna was speaking to Krishna directly. So we have Prabhupada's books, we have his lectures, we have everything. So for you it's as good as for those who may right now. That doesn't, that's not, it is important, but it's not something so mystical as some people believe. The real association is by the expression. And if you follow, then you become connected. And that's the solution. All right. Time is over. One last.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Father Khalsa. He elevated animals and Jagai and many other asuras. So we devotees were struggling in chanting and Krishna consciousness. Why doesn't he attract our minds? Why doesn't he attract our minds?
Why doesn't he attract?
Our minds.
He does. But it depends on us to be receptive to the attraction. Don't you think? I mean, Krishna is all attractive, right? That's his name. He's all attractive to everybody. But some don't like him. How does that come? We have some feeling. It's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't attract us. He does. But we have to also do something to be attracted. It's not, he doesn't force us to be attracted. That wouldn't work. Krishna doesn't force. He's all attractive. Still, he doesn't force you to be attracted. You may, that becomes so. He doesn't like Krishna. Others cite so many Krishna beings who didn't want to have anything to do with Krishna. They wanted to kill Krishna. But still he's all right. But if we choose this other kind of relationship, then that's our doing, our problem. So, I don't know what to tell you. You have to hear. You're sitting here, so some attraction must be there. Why are you saying that he's not attractive? I don't understand.
I need full absorption.
Full is, we are on the way. But you want to get there, right?
Yes.
So then that's good enough. You're on your way. Don't become impatient. If you follow the process as given by the Acharya, they're telling us how to get there. If you do that, you get there. Maybe not in one day. Like, a young lady, a young woman becomes married, she wants to have a child. So wait, at least 9 months, minimum. Krishna consciousness is not exactly like that. Because you can become Krishna conscious in 1 second. But that's very rare. Generally, it takes a little time. Because we are contaminated, and the contamination is to go. So the cakita-cakita process, that depends on each individual person, how long that will take. But if you continue the process, it's only a matter of time, you'll get there. The mirror will be clear, and then you can see yourself as the Lord, and there will be full attraction. So don't worry. Just mṛṣā-samādhināmīlita-dṛśaṁ. It's to be active, determined, and patient. You follow everything is there in our scriptures. And if you do these 6 things, success guaranteed. Okay, Hare Krishna.